Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Thursday, October 6th, 2021. How y'all doing? I know, it's been a couple weeks and this episode's late. I've actually recorded 2 episodes this week already, but it didn't work out. And I was going to wait until next week to do this episode after I had a chance to talk with Boss. But, no, I'm just gonna go for it. Okay, so, first and foremost, I want to make sure that I make super abundantly clear I don't represent anybody. Except me. And even that is kind of loose association. I don't represent Judge Academy, I do not represent the Guild, I do not represent WotC, I do not represent anybody. Right? These are solely my opinions, my thoughts. Okay. So if you go back like, I don't know, 2.5 years. I guess it would have been about 2 years. Maybe almost 3 now. I don't know. I did an episode all about judging side events at an open. It was a pretty rough experience. Yeah, I won't be doing it again. I ain't got the spoons for it. I do know judges that really enjoy doing those kinds of things, and that's great. They can totally enjoy that. It is not for me. So, but I did talk about how much I was paid for my 10-hour day. Actually, almost 14-hour day once you included my driving time. And how it was, yeah, it was pretty underwhelming compensation. Okay. Now, when I judge regular REL events at the shop that I also play in, my fee is that, like, my entry fee is waived. And honestly, even if Boss got to the point where he's like, look, I can't waive, nobody tell him, by the way, I can't waive, like, the limited fees for you to run the events anymore, like, you know, pre-releases or whatever, I would still do it, because I'm there anyway. I might as well answer the questions and click the buttons. You know, maybe I do, like, would I always do the 3 pre-release events if I wasn't running them? Probably not. I've had pre-release come at the end of some pretty exhausting weeks that I'm like, I don't want to do this, but like, I've kind of entered into an obligation to do it. So, I'm going to do it. I'm going to slap a smile on, and I'm going to be like, yeah, this is great. I mean, but that's the local shop, is always been kind of like safe ground. I can remember talking with some of the players that were, you know, they went to like opens and GPs and shit, and they're like, yeah, you should really come with us. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And they're like, you know, they see me there, and they're like, I don't, what do you mean you might have a problem? It's like, yeah, you really can't judge how I am in a crowd full of people that I know to varying degrees from, yeah, no, we're pretty cool, to I've never seen that person before in my life, by how I am at the shop, because the shop has always been, you know, safe ground. So I'm very much more comfortable doing things at the shop, but even when I do comp REL events for them, I get paid pretty good. And, you know, I don't know. I have no question of whether I have support from the staff there if I should need it. Not so much at the Open, especially after the guy got snarky with me because the L3, instead of sucking his L and walking over and getting the paperwork for the event late, sent the first timer over who, you know, has no idea when we're supposed to get the paperwork, and I got chewed out for it because we really should have been there 15 minutes before the event fire time to get the paperwork and yada yada. Yeah. The whole experience was unpleasant. I don't even blame the guy who snapped at me, though, because I'm pretty sure his experience was unpleasant, too. I get it. At the time, I may have had less kind feelings towards him. But, yeah. So, judges really don't... When we talk larger events, the guild takes pretty good care of us, so I don't want any of this coming across that I'm, like, bitching about my arrangement with them. But when it comes to larger events, judges are not well compensated for the amount of actual work it is. Again, you can go listen to me exercise that whole event in an hour-long episode from, like, right back after I did it. But, like, at one point, I was babysitting 4 different fucking events. Like, turning over rounds for 4 different events. Even when we were running 2 separate format FNMs simultaneously at the shop, the vast majority of the time, there were 2 of us, 1 for each event. Every once in a while, something would happen that we were a judge short, and one of us had to solo both. And, yeah, those nights were, you know, a little more. But, by and large, there were 2 of us. We were both allowed to play in our respective event for free, so that we would answer the questions and click the buttons. But, yeah. Now, and granted, we were also playing in the events we were running, so that is an extra caveat there, whereas when I was doing the side events there, I was not playing in any of them. But still, being responsible for 4 events at the same time. One, we're not talking like 4 10-person events. We're talking 4 20-plus player events. So, taking all the judge calls for those events, plus turning over the old match slips, picking up all the new match slips, like it was in a constant state of turning over a round for one of the 4 events. It sucked. It was fucking awful. Then I got, like, put on babysitting a Legacy event as one of the multiple events I was babysitting at the time, and that scared the hell out of me, but luckily Legacy players tend to know what's up, and so they didn't need a lot of help. And I get it. Like, being concerned about answering Legacy questions, they're all still Magic cards. The words all still mean the same thing, unless they're, like, actual old printings of certain cards, in which case the words are very different. But, you know, I know how fucking Magic cards work. It's really not different than judging any other format. Than judging Modern or Standard. Commander's weird. I do not get Commander. So, you know, I can understand somebody looking at it and being like, well, I don't get what you're, like, concerned about. Like, you're a Magic judge. You know how the game works. You know how the cards work. So whatever format you're answering questions for should be the same. But it was just like an additional level of stress. Like I had mentioned from from the get that I don't play Legacy. My shop doesn't do Legacy events. I don't know what's in Legacy. I rarely pay attention to Legacy tournaments. Like, when the Legacy seat was covered in a team tournament, fine. I, could follow what Tannen was doing with the Delver deck. It is Delver deck. Okay. Lands, on the other hand, like, what the fuck was Jody Keith doing? I don't know. Playing a bunch of lands and somehow winning games. Okay. I heard of the Legacy Enchantress deck, and I was like, well, that sounds great. I don't know what it does, but it sounds great. They don't even get Emrakul. How's that fun? But, yeah, so I mentioned from the start, like, I'm not familiar with the format at all, so I would prefer to, not be on those events. And I got one, and, like, again, it was just, like, another kind of dollop of stress on top of all of the other stress happening. And I got paid $125 for this. And I got a judge mad. Alright, now, don't want to forget that part, getting paid in product. And, yeah, to me, it just 1000% was not worth it. Now, I picked the closest event to me to do. And also, my 14-hour day should have actually been, like... So I'd misread the call. Plus, I was on side events. Side events have an end time. I thought we were done at 7. I misunderstood. And I got to be dragged around by the L3 when I pointed out that, like, whoa, no. I gave my husband this timeline. I got 3 kids at home. What? And, yeah. That was... So, yeah, I thought we were done at 7. I misunderstood. I got drugged in front of the showrunner, who, by the way, was an incredibly nice guy, and I felt pretty horrible at the end. Because, yeah, I'd basically been on fire the whole day, and it sucked. And he's, like, trying to ask me about how my experience was, and, like, I had fun, right? And I'm like, I really don't want to tell you that this was, like, the literal most awful experience in my life, because you seem to want me to feel differently about it, but I also don't want to lie to you. He was very nice, but yeah, I got drug up in front of him by the L3. It's like, so somebody can't read. Duh. I'd be so much fucking better at this game if I could read properly. Yeah, misunderstood, and she's got to leave at 7. She's got to take the other judge with her because he rode down with her. And, like, you could just read it on the guy's face. He's like, why are you bringing this to me? Like, I don't care. Our side event's, like, pretty much wrapped up. No, we were expected to stay until the main was done for the day as well. Taking judge calls on the main. I didn't sign up to judge comp. I signed up to judge regular. That was my comfort level. That is what I signed on for. So no, I'm not taking judge calls from the main. Also, not to mention, there's much higher stakes in the main event than in the side events. So, all of my players in the side events were fucking great. They were all very nice. But I have seen players make judge calls at comp. Some of them are douchebags. I'm sorry, but y'all are. Like, I get that, there's stuff on the line and everything, but I have seen people be incredibly disrespectful to judges that approached in a respectful manner. Like, I can get it if the judge, like, walks up and they give the air of some petty tyrant that just wants to slam it on the table. fine. I can get getting your back up about that. But, like, yo, we are pretty much fucking volunteers. And you're gonna treat people like that? Like, So, no, I was not interested in answering calls for the main event. I signed on to judge side events. And our other responsibility was cleaning up after Magic players. Yo, I ain't your mama. Throw away your dead water bottle. Gather up your burned out sleeves, throw them away. Your draft chaff. Like, don't just leave the shit laying around, and for the love of God, push in your damn chair when you get up. So yeah, by the time that we were closing in on, oh hey, this is, that's why I told my husband I was gonna be headed home, because this is when I thought I would be. We were pretty much on janitorial duty. So, this was, the Philly Open / King of Prussia. We left at about 7, a little later than that, because we were covering, like, the last round of breaks. Though, again, I think there was one event still going on, and it was, like, the super special event that had a single solitary judge dedicated to it out of our side event team. And by the time I drove back to the guild to drop Cody off at his car and drove home, husband was still watching coverage of the main when I got home. So, yeah, it would have been another 2 hours minimum, probably 3. So you're talking 17-hour day with travel time, $125. Now, you can't just put a blanket amount out there when your hours for the day are mystery. That's my opinion on it. And anybody who wants to come out with the, well, you don't judge for the money, it's for the love of the game and the integrity, yada, yada, yada. Dude, that has the same energy as, well, you can't quit this shit 50 an hour job for a job that's going to give you more money. Where's your sense of loyalty? I don't know about SCG. Like, I don't know what their bottom line is or anything like that. They seem to do pretty fucking well, you know. They seem to be making it. Well, I don't know. It's one thing for me to more volunteer for the small business owner that owns the small LGS. But even there, like, boss pays me almost as much to do Comp Aria L events at the shop. And in fact, if I take it in store credit, he pays me as much for a shorter day. It's much less demanding. Because, like, I can remember being put on standby for an IQ. Kreiner was head judging. And, I don't know, we had like 40 or so players. And Kreiner's like, it's iffy, like I could probably handle it, would be nice. And boss is like, yo, if you want to activate her, like, you're not going to get pushback from me. And I get that judging Comp REL is more intense. Like, there's more going on. But, yeah. We had, like, half the players in the IQ that I was, or we had, like, half as many players in this IQ as I was babysitting in these 4 side events. And boss said, yeah, go ahead and activate her. It's fine. So, now, I'm loyal to the shop because it goes both ways there. Now, again, I know a lot of judges that enjoy doing this, that it's a good time for them and everything, and that's cool, and I'm glad that they're out there, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't have anybody judging these fucking events. This was under the old Judge Apps program that was free. There wasn't a charge to be a judge. I'm going to pause y'all real quick. So, enter Judge Academy, where we now have to pay a yearly fee. And initially, it was L1s paid $100 a year, L2s paid $200, L3s paid $400. And, you know, L2s and L3s got more promos, right? And that was like our kind of compensation for this fee, is we got these promos, right? And they were pretty good promos. Like the first wave of them, probably the first year of promos, they were pretty good. I mean, there was at least one, because there was a Teferi's Protection, which you could have sold that one promo and profited, you know, covered your fee and still had more on top of that. Of course, you've got to find a buyer and deal with the hassle of selling it and everything, but, you know, whatever. Right? And this is how a lot of people justified, like, you know, well, yeah, okay, you got to pay this fee now, but you get these promos, so it's all cool, it's all good. I had my concerns about Judge Academy from the start, and I tried to be kind of quiet about it. I tried to like wait and see how things went. Okay, this is a for-profit company. Like that's a big sticking point to me. And the justifications they used for why it had to be for-profit and couldn't be a not-for-profit were really thin. It was like, oh, well, because, you know, if it's a not-for-profit, in order to get any kind of sponsorship from these other companies and everything, they would have to go in as a donation, and we don't want to be competing with, like, the Red Cross for donations. Yeah, I don't know what company you think making a donation to the Magic the Gathering judge system is going to compete with a donation to something like the Red Cross. Also, you know, with some games, you know, they're not going to be okay with it being a not-for-profit. Like, yeah, these justifications really didn't make sense. I can't believe anybody bought them, ever. We all know why it's a for-profit business, and one of the questions asked when they did an AMA on it was, well, I know it's for-profit, but, like, are you going to be transparent with the books? Like, give an accounting of the expenses, and, like, where's the money going? And they're like, well, it's not reasonable that we be too transparent, and we don't have to be. Yeah, that's why you're a for-profit. That is exactly why. Because, no, you don't have to be transparent about where that money's going. And you're not going to. But, you know, hey, I paid my fee. I joined up. Got my promos. They're nice. Promos did take some swing in quality. And that was spun as, oh, you know, these nostalgic cards. Yeah, they're cards nobody fucking wants. But okay. All right. No, it's fine. I mean, they're still, like, you know, Skippy Judge promos, so they still have a decently high value. I don't know if they decided that, like, too many people getting them were devaluing them too much, or what. But the communications from Judge Academy have generally not been great. Like, you kind of get the feeling they're written by people who aren't, in fact, writers. They're currently looking for, like, a communications manager or something like that. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and apply. Judge Academy posted in the Judge Academy group about something in the last announcement that, like, wasn't clearly identified, and then commented on their post that they were looking to hire a communications manager. And I do not recall the name. Is not a person that I personally know. The first response to that comment, this person is my absolute hero. They're like, I notice you're not indicating any sort of salary information for any of these positions you're saying are available. You want to address that? All right. So there were community consultants, which I take to mean were like boots on the ground judges that they were paying to consult and help make the program better. They've cut all those positions. They've decided that judges will now fall into one of 4 guilds. I guess I would be a community bard, being that my main focus in running events at the guild is helping cultivate a healthy community that any player can walk in and feel respected, comfortable, safe. Unless you're like an overt, racist or anti-LGBTQIA plus, or, kind of wearing some bigotry on your sleeve. You may not feel that welcome there. We don't accept that. We're not okay with that. Because that's part of making sure the environment feels safe for any player of any class, is by making it clear that bigotry won't be tolerated. And that is my probably top concern. I of course want to make correct calls every time I get a call. I know I've worked some over the years. But it's really about cultivating a healthy and strong community there. And you got the rules lawyer level, I believe they're calling that paladin, and then the other 2 I don't remember the names of. And then you've got the event management, and I don't even remember what the 4th one is. And they're going to be hiring community leaders for these groups, and I thought about applying, but no. And I understand my perception of adequate compensation is somewhat skewed. I make a very good salary to do what I do professionally because I'm very good at it. And I've gotten some really lucky breaks along the way that have put me in a very good position in my field. I almost doubled my salary when I decided that I wasn't playing the game anymore. And was, basically negotiating like a man. So, yeah, I get it. I look at what I'm paid for my 9-to-5er, and let's back up a little bit. See, this is the other thing to consider is, again, events don't pay great, especially if you have to travel any significant amount to get back and forth from the event. Ergo, I don't think anybody can actually support themselves being a professional Magic the Gathering judge. Ergo, Magic the Gathering judges have other jobs. Like, they have their full-time or, their main income source, and judging's almost a hobby on top of that. But instead of, just knowing how our deck works and, having a decent understanding of the rules and card interaction and everything, we have to stay on top of rules changes. We have to stay on top of changes to policy, if you're running competitive events, changes to the IPG. We have to stay on top of what is going on constantly. And, that's part of what we do, and that's fine. But, again, we've gone from, judges don't get paid great, but it's about supporting the game and everything from the multi-million-dollar companies. But, they get their education materials and, they don't have to pay to be certified. To now we have to pay a fee. And yeah, in my case, sure, it's still worth it. Because like 1 weekend of pre-releases offsets my new fee. Yeah, so they decided, I know this is a little disjointed, but y'all should be used to that by now, so I'm not going to apologize too much for it. They decided that instead of having these different levels of fees, now the fee is $75 no matter what level you are. I have to pause y'all real quick. So yeah, now the fee is $75 standard. Now they did not charge the membership fee for the past like 18 months, with the pandemic and everything. There's no events to judge. And I appreciate that. But they didn't, pull the whole, well, you still have to pay your dues. Or, you can stop being a judge, and then when events come back, you can try to recertify. So, sure, I appreciate that. And they're like, well, since we're not taking the fees, we're not sending out the promos. Okay, fine. Sure. This program's pretty much on hiatus right now. Okay, that makes sense. But you can get promos for attending judge conferences, which, of course, with the gathering restrictions, we're pretty much online. Okay. I've been to a judge conference. Cody organized it. It was pretty neat. It was at White Knight, an LGS. I don't even know what town that LGS is in. I know it was like an hour-ish drive for me. That is when somebody did a presentation on all the steps involved in casting a spell. Holy shit. Yeah. Even the high-end players. I don't know that they still know every single step involved in casting spells. There's like 8 steps involved. Holy shit. Yeah, no, I actually did not realize. Because, we think of the big portions, right? Declaring the spell, paying the costs, choosing targets. When does the spell go into the graveyard? Is probably the most frequently asked question concerning spell casting. Is, if I abrupt decay a rest in peace, where does everything end up? So, yeah, no, it was a nice conference. It was a good time. The owner of the White Knight game store has like a thing with squirrels, like an affinity for squirrels. So that immediately made him endearing to me. I'm not really familiar with the shop. Again, it's a drive for me, so it's not a drive I've only actually made it that one time. So I wouldn't say that it wasn't worth my time. It was good for networking, getting to know some other judges in our general area. We don't get very many conferences in this area. They're usually up in so we used to be the Northeast region under the old program. And most of the conferences and stuff that happen seem to be like up in New York or Massachusetts. Yeah, no. I cannot make time for that. Side story flashback it's going to become pertinent. Way back, when I was a stay-at-home parent after we had Sage. So, like, very early in my marriage. Husband wanted me to have the ability to be a stay-at-home parent and, you know, get the bonding time and yada, yada, yada. But we weren't doing so hot financially. I talked about getting, you know, even like a part-time job, and he's like, So I got sucked into selling Party Light, your fancy-ass candles and candle accoutrement. That's what it is. But you can sub, like, Mary Kay, Avon, trying to think of other MLM quote-unquote businesses, right? That's how they market it, like, right? Pampered Chef, that's a big one now. They're like, oh yeah, be your own boss. Own your own business. No, you're an independent subcontractor. You're a salesperson that they want to get out of having to provide any benefits to or unemployment insurance. Right? We all know how MLM schemes work, and they're kind of trash. Sure, every once in a while. There was an episode of Bob's Burgers on this, and it was fantastic. You know, some people do very well. They get a bunch of people to sign up under them, and they get to take a cut of their money, and you know, they're able to do it full time. By and large, people get involved, and they're like, yeah, make some money, and, you know, get to have this cool product that I like. And you very quickly realize that if you are not excellent at sales, and if you are excellent at sales, you could make much better bank in so many other ways. Yeah, it's actually a money sink, right? That's kind of how this shit feels. Because everything's like volunteer status. Somebody has to organize the judge conference. People have to present at the judge conferences. There's no compensation for it, right? It's just like additional shit you do. And sure, if you're like, yo, Cody is an amazing event coordinator. And I think in some ways he enjoys doing that kind of stuff. I get the feeling he does a lot of it for his job. If he doesn't, his talents are being wasted. So, yeah. I have to pay a membership fee to do something for the good of the community. Like, you want me to pay while still selling me this. It's not about promos and it's not about compensation. It's about for the good of the community. So let's talk about what Judge Academy does for judges. There are some really bad CBTs. It's computer-based training, so if you're not familiar. I have to do a lot of CBTs for work. They all suck. Even when they try to jazz them up. And my job, they do. I'm sure they pay millions of dollars for these CBTs. And they all suck. It still sucks. It's just not... It's only so... You can only make certain aspects of, like, my professional job fun. Like, it... And this is all on, like, policy stuff. This isn't even, like, on what I do for a living. This is, you know, why I need to report my time in the way I do. And, you know, how to... What's proper expensing and what's some shady business. And, you know, like... So, there's CBTs... They're... I mean, I recommend if you're, like, looking to become a judge and you want to learn more about these deeper rules of the game and everything, go listen to the JudgeCast podcast. It's pretty good, and they're pretty entertaining. Again, there's only so you can only make this information so entertaining, but they give it a good effort, and they're pretty fun to listen to. The CBTs on Judge Academy are so I get a bunch of homework because, like, I've had to take training modules that don't pertain to me. Like, training modules about event promotion. I don't do event promotion. I don't work for any of these companies. And, again, I've talked about how the compensation for actually doing the job of being a judge during the event isn't great. So no, event promotion, not my thing. But I still gotta do the training on it, and I still gotta pass the test on it. So I get homework and tests. But okay, I don't think having judges recert every year is necessarily a bad thing. Under the old system, as long as you were listed as a judge on X number of events a year, you maintained your judge status. I think having recert tests is fine. It ensures people keep up with what's going on in the game at the current state. So it's not that I'm, like, offended that you want me to take a recert test. It's that, again, like, my account is flagged with, you have to do these training modules, even though this is not stuff that you do. But okay, fine, whatever. So I'm paying for homework. As far as I've seen, they don't really do anything to help judges get staffed on events. Especially kind of store-level judges that want to break into judging larger events. May God have mercy on their souls. Pick whichever God you would like. Doesn't look like they're doing anything for that. I can tell by the Facebook group they're not doing anything to connect. Like, wouldn't it be great? Because, you put in your location and everything. If a judge candidate hops on Judge Academy, starts up their account, and they're like, yes, I am interested in becoming a judge. They start going through the training manuals or modules, and Judge Academy automatically looks for registered L2s that are in their geographic area and sends out messages to them like, hey, new judge candidate in your area. Somebody needs to be an L2 mentor. Please contact. Anything like that. But apparently, I don't think that happens. I wouldn't actually know, though I've had a couple mentees, and they didn't mention, I had to put them in contact with the local L2. Because that's, one of the big things is, before, an L2 had to proctor the L1 test. L2 or L3, L2 or above. Well, now you can take the test online. Cool. You still need an L2 recommendation to actually get your cert. And judging by the Facebook group and all the people hey, I'm doing the training modules, I'm ready to take my tests, but I don't know any L2s to get my recommendation. Can somebody help me out? Which is kind of what we did under the old fucking judge program. So they're not improving that process at all. They're not negotiating standard pay for judges for events. It's still on the judges themselves to negotiate their own pay and everything. Do their own legwork on that. These conferences, they don't seem to, the only thing they seem to be doing there is sending the conference organizer the promos to send out. Or give out if it's a physical gathering. So they aren't actually doing anything more than the old Judge Apps program did. So what am I paying for? They're not doing background checks on judges. Like, I thought, okay, maybe that's a thing they'll do, where, you know, that's part of what your fee covers, is they, you know, send you the form, you fill it out, and they send you on for the background check, because, you know, there was the big hubbub about that. Nope, they don't do that. So yeah, over the course of the pandemic and quarantine measures and lockdown measures and everything, they were like, okay, well, we're not going to charge you fees because there's not events to judge. Okay, cool. And we're also not going to send out promos, though, but if you attend these online conferences, you can get them. Okay, sure. Except now that we're going back, we have to pay our renewal fee. Now it's $75. And they're sticking with we're not just mass mailing promos anymore. You can only get them from attending events. You don't get 4 from attending conferences. You get 2. So, yeah. And I remember under the old program, I think at some point everybody got promos, but it got to the point where it was like, okay, attending conferences gets you promos, and if you get nominated for Exemplar. And I think L2 and above just got promos. To get nominated for an Exemplar, an L2 had to nominate you. I reached out to have a couple people that were very helpful in my path to get my certification. You know, expressing that they did a lot for mentoring and everything. They were L2s that I was recommending. Well, and I did actually recommend Cody, because Cody also did a lot for me. But I couldn't actually just put in an Exemplar nomination. I had to contact an L2. I had to plead my case to them on why this person should be nominated for Exemplar. And as far as I'm aware, it didn't actually happen. That was one of the chief complaints, is that L2s would get a certain amount of Exemplar nominations that they could give, and they weren't using them. They weren't doing anything with it. And when people would complain about this, you would get usually an L2 coming back with, well, are you doing this to support the community, or are you doing it for promos? Again, this has really big, why are you asking about the salary? Aren't you passionate about the work? Energy. Where it's like, yeah. Like, again, the guild takes very good care of me. I like working with them. I'm happy to do it. And I get, like, the good feeling of helping that community there. But when it comes to these bigger events, no. Nope. I do not feel that love. I don't. So, no, I'm not necessarily just doing this for promos, but shit, man. And under the old system, I was like, you know, fine, whatever. But again, now you're asking me to pay to have the ability to essentially volunteer. Get compensated very little if I would do large events, which I won't. Because again, it's just not fucking worth it to me. And literally giving nothing in return. Like, I kind of wonder in the training mods that have videos if the person who made the video was even compensated for it, or if it was just like a do it for the good of the community. Because it honestly would not surprise me if the people who have put together these these training videos and everything, aren't in fact paid for it, but are asked to take one for the team. The hell. I'm really annoyed about this. Again, I wasn't 100% sold on Judge Academy from the start. I was like, let's see how this turns out. And as far as anybody that's going to come at with, oh, well, you can blame those judges that, fought to be paid. No. You can blame the multi-million-dollar company that wants people to run their events and run with some degree of integrity. Otherwise, nobody's going to pay $50 to pay in a corrupt tournament, right? In a tournament run by different interpretations of the rules, right? You have a standardized understanding of how the rules work, and that's why people will pay large amounts of dollars to play in Magic tournaments for the chance to win larger amounts of dollars. But you don't want to pay them. Yeah. And it's not like this is some mutually beneficial interaction. Like, I've seen a lot of people start to come out against, like, WotC sending preview cards to content creators. And it's like, oh, they're getting free advertisement off of you. I mean, yes. But this is one of the big reasons that I get really annoyed when the big content curation groups like Goldfish or SCG or CFB reshares preview cards, especially from smaller content creators, without crediting the source. Like, that's kind of the point, is it's a mutually beneficial interaction where WotC says, hey, small content creator that seems to espouse the values that we're looking for, here's a preview card. You're going to be the first person to get to see it. You're going to be the first person to get to put it out there in the wild. And the concept is that will bring views to them, right? People that may not have known they existed will come across them and be like, oh, let's go check them out. See what they're about. And yeah, WotC gets some free advertisement. And the content creator gets some free traffic. And sure, not all of that traffic's going to stick. Some people are just going to pass through and be like, this content's not for me. There are tons of Magic content creators, and they all have their own little twist and approach to it. Some of them I enjoy. Some of them, they're not for me. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying that their content's crap. I'm saying that their content does not appeal to me personally. But luckily for them, there are fucking hordes of Magic players, and their content appeals to a different kind of player. And that's completely fine. Not all content has to be for you. I mostly watch content creators that have pets that sometimes show up in their stream. Like, Cannon Grace plays an awful lot of blue for me to watch him. But he has, like, the cutest fucking dog ever. So, sure. Also, I mean, he's got a pretty great personality. Or, like, when they would do I actually missed the early access streamer event for new sets. Man, that was always a great day. It's like, I'm gonna, check out Jim Davis's stream, and I'm gonna check out Todd Anderson's, and I'm gonna check out Brad Nelson, and I'm gonna check out Corey Baumeister, and I'm gonna check out, my mind just went, boop. Dispose of all that. Thea, and I'm gonna check out Kat, and, like, I'm I'm going to check out an MS stream, and, like, I'm just going to bounce around between all these streamers and, like, look at cool new stuff they're doing. Yes, I did favor Jim Davis in that, because Jim Davis always played constructed, and instead of taking decks already in the format and, like, okay, well, what did they get from this new set? He would build 10 decks that largely featured the new cards, and it's like, let's see if this deck is possible in this format. And sure, sometimes he would just get his ass kicked. That his 10 new brews could not stand up to whatever the bully of the format was that just got an upgrade. But his real focus was on featuring these new cards. And, like, we're going to build decks that are, like, 60% or more outside of the basic land slots. New cards. But I would watch Semulin Draft. Just, like, all kinds of cool people doing cool stuff with the cool new set. I really missed that event. But, like, when they had that, it's like, oh, yeah, these streamers giving free promotion to WotC. Well, sure, it doesn't cost WotC anything, right? They're not paying them to do it. However, also having the early access pulls more traffic to their stream. And so they get bigger views and maybe more subscriptions, and that translates into more money for them. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And sure, you can feel that, you know, WotC should be shelling out a couple dollars to these people. I can definitely see that as a valid argument. Yeah, no, totally, I get where you're coming from. And I'm not saying that I disagree with that. But with judges, now we're expected to pay. This would be like WotC having a content creator program. They're like, okay, you're going to pay us $75 a year to be in this content creator program. And it starts out with, and creators in the content creator program are guaranteed one preview card a year. Because, you know, unless they want to cap it at like 250 content creators or whatever, they can't give out one a set. You know, they're guaranteed one preview card a year and access for the early access streamer event. And you pay for that. And then over time, they're like, okay, so we've decided that, you know, preview cards, they're no longer a guarantee in this. You can do these extra steps. You can attend these content creator online conferences that we do nothing to put together or provide content for or anything else. It's all volunteers from the community who then they get a preview card every set. But you can only get preview cards now from attending these conferences. And you only get to participate in the early access streamer event if you attend these conferences, right? Maybe it's you only get to participate in the early access streamer event if you attend these conferences, and if you present at the conferences and or organize the conferences, then you're guaranteed your one preview card a year. See how fucking ridiculous that sounds? Do you see how no content creator would be like, oh yeah, this is a great idea? How all of them would be like, whoa, so you want me to pay you to support your game outside of what I already pay to be able to play in any way competitively on Arena or Moto or whatever. See how ridiculous that sounds? And sure, they may make some more money by having these early access features that generates more traffic for them. You can call that what we get paid to judge events. Do you see how absolutely fucking nobody would do that? And this is where we're at. So at this point, if somebody wants to make the content for an alternative judge training and certification web application, I will do the coding. I volunteer. We'll run a little fundraiser to raise the funds to pay for hosting and domain. And start an underground free judge program again. I am not a writer. Well, okay. I fancy myself a writer to write things that only I will ever read. And those mostly involve dragons and unicorns. So if you are a technical writer, not even really a technical writer, but can write good articles and are willing to do it for free to create a free judge certification path with me, I will pro bono do all the development for the site. Hit me the fuck up. Email is lastpointgaming@gmail.com. lastpointgaming@gmail.com. No spaces, no underscores, no nothing. Pretend your space bar's broken. Hit me up. We'll work together. Because this is kind of ridiculous. Now, at my income range, throwing them $75 a year, it's not a big expense to me. I probably pay more than that a month in Twitch subscriptions. So it's not that like, oh, well, if you can't afford it. No, I absolutely can. However, I think this is completely fucking ridiculous. I think they're not doing anything to earn a membership fee, to add value to being a judge, to offset that fee. And when they were sending us promos, fine. It was arguable that, like, okay, well, but you can sell the promos to make back your membership fee and then some, and, you know, you get these cool cards and whatever. But now we don't even get that. Like, now there's nothing. And I don't understand what I am paying them for. And this is why I was going to wait until I talked to Boss and see if he required me to be a Judge Academy certified judge to continue with our arrangement. But you know what? Judge Academy shows me the door based on what I've said here today. This reaches them. And Boss says, well, nope, I need a certified judge running events, and, you know, MacGyver or whoever else ends up getting tapped for that, fine. You know, it's whatever. I will feel less obligation to attend all the events that I do. And, I don't know, maybe the first step away from being so involved in the Magic community. But I gotta speak my piece here. This is pretty fucking ridiculous. And again, I can afford this fee without a problem. What about, like, the younger judges, you know? What about judges that the fee is actually a measurable expense to them? Yeah, this is ridiculous. And the profit grab has become quite apparent now. Like, it was always kind of there hovering, and I was trying to, like, rationalize around it. I was trying to give them a chance, and I was trying to, well, okay, let's give them a little time to get on their feet here and, you know, find some professional content creators to create their content so their articles read more coherently. And this would be like me charging you like $5 each for these episodes. Nobody would pay it because the content here is just not worth it. And I get that. I don't put any effort into it. Like, I am okay with saying that. This is not like some self-deprecation jag of, oh, I'm trash. No, I put like literal zero effort into this. I do this for my own fucking amusement. So, yeah, I just put it out there. And if you want to listen to it, cool. But I'm not going to charge it because nobody would pay it. Because I'm not adding enough value to their lives. This is just ridiculous. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Sure, I'll probably continue paying my fee because, again, I save more than that fee in pre-release entry, like at one event. And it isn't a lot of money for me, but I'm still expressing that I think this is absolutely ridiculous. This is it's just silly. So again, if you have the writing skills to write the content for like the instruction and everything, I will build it. I'm currently reteaching myself Angular while teaching myself newer versions of Angular JS because I worked with a very old version before, and you know, want to make myself more marketable throughout my firm. So it will be a nice project to work on to really hone those skills. I'll do it. Like I said, we'll run a little bit of a fundraiser. Maybe do some repacks of the stuff I got in the archive, and you know, throw in a couple bait cards or whatever, just to raise some funds to pay for the hosting and the domain. I'll front the cost of it. We'll try to recoup it. But if you want to create an underground Bonar Judge Association with me, hit me up. Because yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. I really don't understand what judges are paying for. It would be one thing if they had a staff that, like, okay, this is the staff that connects L1s or potential L1s to L2s to get them mentored and get them certified. This is the staff that does mentoring. This is the staff that puts together event materials for judge conferences. But from what I'm seeing, they don't have any of that staff. They're not paying any of these expenses. It's still volunteer basis, just like it was under the old judge program. So what exactly is being paid for here? Because I'm just not seeing it. And that's my take on it. That's my feelings. I don't mean to be so negative, but like, seriously, what the hell? Like I said, I tried to keep pretty quiet about Judge Academy. Like, let's give them some time to get their feet under them, you know, figure out how they're doing things and whatnot, and kind of suspend judgment for a little bit here. But y'all just tripped over that line that, like, I can't do that anymore. So here I am telling you that I'm pretty sure this whole fucking program is a scam. There you go. That's my thoughts. I gotta get in and get logged on for work and whatnot. You know, my day job that actually adequately compensates me. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I will talk to y'all next week and still be a Magic the Gathering judge.